Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here. Ms. Gordon, I'm going to have you respond to something after I go through some of the background. In 2014, you retweeted someone who wrote, "Trying to win Southern seats is not worth the ideological cost for Democrats." It's a Daily Beast article that was attached to the retweet, which lambasted the South as a backwards place filled with backwards people that Democrats should shun. I think a passage even included practically the whole region, the South, has rejected nearly everything that's good about this country and has become just one big nuclear waste site of choleric and extremely racialized resentment. North Carolina was specifically listed as a state that Democrats should consider caring about, but only under the right circumstances when necessary for the Electoral College. Ms. Gordon, what's good about this country that Southern states have rejected?
Thank you so much, Senator, for giving me the opportunity to talk about this tweet. I'd like to start by saying that when I was in high school, my family moved to North Carolina in search of work there, and I loved living in North Carolina, and I still count many, many people in North Carolina as my friends. I regret this retweet, which, to be frank, is retweeted just because that person was a friend of mine. I thoughtlessly retweeted it, and I regret it.
Ms. Gordon, what's the ideological cost for Democrats who seek office? If you just go back and see what the article was focused on, what is the ideological cost for Democrats who seek office in Southern states?
Like I said, I just retweeted that in a hurry. I regret it. I don't have any views on the content of the article.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Mr. Green, last summer, the city of Portland experienced a number of violent riots. The Edith Green Wendell Wyatt Federal Building, which houses 40 HUD employees, was the target of repeated attacks, according to DHS. Some officers suffered permanent blindness. Rioters attacked with mortar-style fireworks and Molotov cocktails. As a result, the building was closed most of the summer. Last May, you retweeted, "Violent protests are not the story. Police violence is." And last July, you retweeted HUD Secretary Donovan, who characterized the riots as an expression of free speech. Why did you tweet and retweet those statements?
Thank you, Senator. I fully support the law enforcement community and condemn any violence against people or property damage. I want to emphasize again and put the necessary context to both of those tweets. One tweet was referencing protests, was simply the title that accompanied a link to an article from Vox. Those were not my words. The second tweet, as you mentioned, was a retweet of Secretary Donovan. It was an exchange between Secretary Donovan and Secretary Carson. I work in the housing field. Two secretaries having a discussion on Twitter is noteworthy. I never in any of my tweets anticipated that retweets or sharing articles would be considered endorsements, and I don't endorse the ideas in the publications or in the tweets.
Well, I actually think that when you retweet something, you're quoting something as an expression of your own ideas, so you may want to be more thoughtful in the future if that's not your intent. According to the DHS, on May the 30th, 2020, rioters graffitied the same building. On June 11th, 2020, rioters dismantled a section of the fence that protects the federal building. On June the 30th, 2020, rioters ripped down the plywood covering the windows at this federal facility before breaking the windows. On July the 12th, rioters fired rockets at the facility in addition to graffitiing it. On July the 14th, 2020, rioters assaulted federal law enforcement officers with cans and various other objects while they attempted to breach the facility. Additionally, at the same facility, rioters attempted to tamper with the water feed into the building, even being caught with chemicals by the police. Do you consider any of this a peaceful protest or an expression of free speech?
Thank you, Senator. I just want to also appreciate your suggestion to be more thoughtful in the future. I do want to recognize that any past tweets were in a personal capacity. If I'm fortunate enough to be confirmed by this committee, I would have a limited social media presence and would not
Green,
be sharing others' ideas.
Mr. Green, my time's out, but I think I just got out of a Judiciary Committee where I voted for 5 out of 6 judicial nominations. Some of them had what I consider to be some problematic comments in their background, but I still felt like that they were qualified to be confirmed to the bench and DOJ positions. But it just seems to me that you have to own, these are not youthful indiscretions. These are things that happen contemporaneously, and they provide me serious concern with the position that you're being nominated for. Thank you, Mr. Chair.